Hello YouTube world, this is Nicholas Montez here, and welcome to my YouTube channel, The Teenage Movie Critic. And today we're going to be doing another Oscar video. Back this Sunday, the Oscars happened. I know I did a video for the Oscars on Sunday, but it was before the Oscars happened. So I wanted to do a video basically explaining the winners and also ranking the winners since I watched all of them this week. So here's how it's gonna work. I'm gonna go over what movies won and my reactions to it, and then we're gonna do a tier list and ranking all of the winners. So yeah. Alright, so this is the Oscars website, and we're gonna start off with actor and leading role. Well actually anyway, let me kinda do this. Alright. So we're gonna start off with actor leading role, and the nominees were Brendan Fraser in The Whale, Austin Butler in Elvis, Colin Farrell in The Benches of Inisherin, Paul Mescal in Aftersun, and Bill Nighy in Living. My personal pick that I wanted to win was Austin Butler in Elvis, but unfortunately Brendan Fraser actually won. And after I've finally seen The Whale since it won, his performance is great, but I still think Austin Butler should have won, just in my opinion. And then we're going to go to actor in supporting role. The nominees were Ke Huy Quan in Everything Everywhere All at Once, Brendan Gleeson in The Banshees of Inisherin, Brian Tyree Henry in Causeway, Judd Hirsch in The Fabelmans, Barry Keoghan in The Banshees of Inisherin. And my personal pick was actually Ke Huy Quan because, I mean, of all these movies here, I actually haven't seen all of them until Everything Everywhere All at Once happened. And we'll talk more about his performance when we get to the actual tier list. But personally, you know, after everything that's happened, where he won a Golden Globe back in January, everybody praised him. He finally came back to films, and we also found out that he starred as a child actor in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Goonies. And then we also heard he's going to be in Loki season 2. Just a nice, heartwarming story, to be honest. So I thought that was great, so I'm glad he won. Then we get actress, we get actress in leading role. So the nominees were Michelle Yeoh in Everything Everywhere All at Once, Cate Blanchett in Tar, Ana de Armas in Blonde, Andrea Riseborough in To Leslie, and Michelle Williams in The Fabelmans. Now obviously, I didn't really know which one to pick because I think all these actors I've seen, at least Michelle Yeoh, Cate Blanchett, and Michelle Williams, I've seen it in at least one movie of theirs. And they all technically have different performances. Obviously, I've seen Michelle Yeoh mostly through animation, through the Kung Fu Panda films, and of course Shang-Chi. Cate Blanchett I saw through Marvel as well, plus through the movie Carol that came out back in 2015. And then Michelle Williams, I think I saw a bit of it in King Kong, the King Kong movie starring Jack Black, but also in a movie that I saw back in 2021. I forgot the name of the movie, but she was great in it. But I don't really know who my pick for Best Leading Actress was. I guess you could say because of them, I would go with Michelle Yeoh, and I'm glad she won, considering she was the first Chinese actress to win a leading actress role. Then we get actress in supporting role, and the nominees were Jamie Lee Curtis in Everything Everywhere All at Once, Angela Bassett in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Hong Chow in The Whale, Carrie Condon in The Banshees of Inisherin, and Stephanie Hsu in Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you guys know me, my personal pick was Angela Bassett in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and in my opinion, I don't think Jamie Lee Curtis should have won. And after seeing Everything Everywhere All at Once, which once again we're gonna get to that when we talk about the tier list, but I don't think, just to kind of talk about it, just to give a little brief thing, Jamie Lee Curtis should not have won. Angela Bassett should have given everything and deserved that award. I mean, granted, she won a Golden Globe back in January, but she deserved the Oscar. So, I'll talk more about Jamie Lee Curtis's performance in the tier list part. Then we got animated feature film. The nominees were Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. My personal pick was actually Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, because but I had a feeling Pinocchio was going to win because a lot of people praised that film, but a lot of people also praised Puss in Boots. They consider it to be one of the best animated films of this year. That this was kind of 2022 was kind of like DreamWorks' year for movies, and because you barely saw any Disney movies doing well with Turning Red and Lightyear. I mean, granted, don't get me wrong, those movies are good, but they're not like top tier like 2021 was with Raya and Encanto. But I'm glad Pinocchio won, and you'll hear my thoughts about it when we talk about when we get in the tier list part. Then we get into cinematography. The nominees were All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. Hold on, I need to do something. Sorry, I had to do something real quick. Anyways, so the nominees were cinematography for All Quiet on the Western Front, Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, Elvis, Empire of Light, and Tar. So, I mean, honestly, I've only seen one of these, which was Elvis, so I went with Elvis, but All Quiet on the Western Front won Best Cinematography. And after watching the film, I guess you could say the cinematography was good. And then we get to costume design. The nominees were Black Panther: Wakanda Forever with Ruth Carter, Babylon, Elvis, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Miss Harris Goes to Paris. My personal pick was Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, but I was wondering, was Elvis, was Babylon, was Everything Everywhere All at Once going to win? And I'm glad Wakanda Forever won something, with Ruth Carter winning another Oscar for Best Costume Design like she did with the first Black Panther. So I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Then we get to directing. The nominees were Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. Here's where it gets interesting because we're not really looking at the movies, we're looking at the people that directed the films. And you have the Daniels, who directed Everything Everywhere All at Once, Martin McDonough, Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, Todd Field for Tar, and Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. Before I did this, I probably should have chosen The Fabelmans for Steven Spielberg because he's an iconic director. But I'm glad Everything Everywhere All at Once won because it was definitely a creative and unique film. Then we got documentary feature film. The nominees were Navalny, All That Breathes, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, Fire of Love, and A House Made of Splinters. I haven't seen any of these movies, so Navalny won. I've seen it, and you'll hear more about my thoughts about it when we get to the tier list. Documentary short film. The nominees were The Elephant Whispers, Haul Out, How Do You Measure a Year, The Martha Mitchell Effect, and Stranger at the Gate. Honestly, as soon as it got to this, I was like, the elephant one's got to win, and surprisingly it did. So I'm glad about that. Then we get to film editing. The nominees were Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, Tar, and Top Gun Maverick. I guess you could say because of the only ones I've seen was Elvis. I actually went with Elvis, but unfortunately Everything Everywhere All at Once won. But after seeing it, I can understand why it won. Then for international feature film, we have All Quiet on the Western Front, Argentina 1985, Close, EO, and The Quiet Girl. And I'm just gonna say I think because All Quiet on the Western Front got some pretty good praise, I think it deserved to win Best International Feature Film. Makeup and hairstyling. The nominees were The Whale, All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Elvis. My personal pick, I probably would have gone with either Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Elvis or Batman, since those are the three films I've seen. But I don't really know which one I would have picked, because I think all of them had great makeup and hairstyling. I probably would have gone with Elvis, but I'm glad the Whale won though, with the makeup, the prosthetic suits and everything. Pretty cool. Then we get to music original score. All Quiet on the Western Front, Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and The Fabelmans. My personal pick when it got to this was John Williams, because, I mean, Steven Spielberg, John Williams, amazing pair together, but All Quiet on the Western Front run, so I guess you could say it did have a pretty good score. Music original song, we got Natu Natu from RRR, Applause from Tell It Like a Woman, Hold My Hand from Top Gun Maverick, Lift Me Up from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and This Is a Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once. And unfortunately, Natu Natu ended up winning. My personal pick was Lift Me Up from Wakanda Forever, because it was the only song I knew. But Natu Natu was pretty fun. It's a pretty fun song. And then we get the Best Picture. This is probably the one that has the most films on the list, with Everything Everywhere All at Once, All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Banshees of Inisherin, Elvis, The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. Honestly, once it got to Best Picture, I knew Everything Everywhere All at Once was going to win after all of the wins that it was getting in the night. So then we get to Production Design, which the nominees were All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, Babylon, Elvis, and The Fabelmans. Personally, I probably would have gone with Elvis, just because of how good it looked like these Elvis performances, but unfortunately, All Quiet on the Western Front won, and I guess it did look like a pretty cool film for a war film. Then we got short film animated, The Boy, the Mole, The Fox and the Horse, The Flying Sailor, Ice Merchants, My Year of Dicks, and An Ostrich Told Me the World is Fake, and I Think I Believe It. Honestly, I didn't really know which one would pick. I remember I chose one that was colorful, so but The Boy, the Mole, The Fox, and the Horse actually ended up winning, and after watching it, seems like a pretty good short. Then we got short film live action. We got An Irish Goodbye, Evalu, La Plupoli, Night Ride, and This Red Suitcase. I didn't really know which one to pick, so I guess An Irish... The thing is, this was actually the only film, of the films that won, I wasn't able to see this one. Because, like, everything else that I watched was either on a streaming service like on Netflix or Paramount Plus or something else. But An Irish Goodbye was not on any streaming services. It was technically in the UK. You can only watch it in the UK, so you can't watch it in the US. So of the films on this list, you're not going to be hearing my thoughts for An Irish Goodbye, unfortunately. But you'll see when we get to the tier list. And then we get to sound. The nominees were Top Gun Maverick, All Quiet on the Western Front, Avatar: The Way of Water, The Batman, and Elvis. Honestly, my personal pick was probably going to be The Batman. But at the same time, I mean, everybody loved the sound effects. The fact that Top Gun Maverick made it seem so real, and like using actual jets, not CGI, and doing this stuff in real places. That's incredible. So I'm glad Top Gun Maverick won, and I'm glad it at least won something. Visual effects, we have Avatar: The Way of Water, All Quiet on the Western Front, The Batman, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and Top Gun Maverick. Honestly, this was an obvious choice. It was Avatar. It had to be Avatar. Obviously, I think it only won... it only won one award. So, this one was easily the most obvious. So, it was kind of like, once it got to this one, you could have easily taken a break from all the stress going on. Then we get to writing, adapted screenplay. The nominees were all Women Talking, All Quiet on the Western Front, Glass Onion and Knives Out, Mystery, Living, and Top Gun Maverick. Honestly, I didn't really know which one to pick from here because I haven't seen any of these movies up until now. But Woman Talking, I guess, I'm not really sure what this category means. Because original screenplay is like an original story. Does that mean adapted screenplay means like it's based off like true events? Because I know Top Gun Maverick and Glass Onion are not based on true events. I know they're not. But Woman Talking actually had some pretty good screenplay, so I guess I'm glad it won. Though you'll hear my thoughts about it in a minute. Then we have a writing original screenplay, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Banshees of Inisherin, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. I mean, honestly, I would have gone with The Fabelmans just because the idea of Steven Spielberg doing a film about a person wanting to make films sounds incredible. But Everything Everywhere All at Once seemed like the best like original story out there that uses the multiverse in very interesting ways. Alright, so that was pretty much all my reactions for it. Now let's just kind of take a look at my tier list and see what was I right on and what was I wrong about. Of course, Everything Everywhere All at Once, I was so right about winning. It got 7 awards. Top Gun Maverick, it didn't win a lot, but it got one thing. Elvis, I was so wrong about. I'm sorry, Austin Butler. I'm sorry to Baz Luhrmann. I'm so sorry about that. I wish I could have been right about him. The movie was so good. It deserved to win. Pinocchio, obviously, I was right about that. Avatar, of course. Puss in Boots, I'm so sorry. I loved you, but Pinocchio was actually a better film in my opinion. A Quiet on the Western Front, obvious. Argentina 1985, did not win. RRR won Best Song, so that was good. And then The Whale, why did I think you were most likely? You deserved to win. Banshees of Inisherin, I'm sorry, but like you honestly deserve to win. I mean, you got so many nominations, and you deserve to win. Stranger at the Gate, I mean, I didn't really hear much from you, so I didn't really know. The Fabelmans definitely deserved to win something, at least original score. Maybe it was probably too. I guess it was probably too obvious because it's John Williams. Babylon at least deserved to win something because it's Damien Chazelle. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, don't really know. Miss Paris Goes to Paris, Elephant Whispers, yeah, definitely deserved to win. The Martha Mitchell Effect, yeah, I don't know. EO, yeah, all these other films, yeah, this one I was doubt about. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, you deserved to win Best Costume Design, but you deserved Best Actress. The Batman, you should have at least win something. At least maybe Best Sound. Glass Onion, can't really judge because I never seen you, and you only got 1 award for Best Adapted Screenplay. Living, it would have been, granted, it would have been cool to see a older actor win the best lead actor, but it didn't happen. Causeway, I like Brian Tyree Henry, but I haven't seen you. Tar, I like it, Cate Blanchett, but sorry you couldn't win. This movie right here, I don't remember. Navalny, pretty good documentary, so it's good. This one, all those were wasted. The Women Talking, why did I doubt you? But you were sort of a good movie. These films right here, An Irish Goodbye, why did I doubt you? But I wish I could have seen you. And then all these other films here. Turning Red, obviously, I knew all these movies down here were not gonna win. I knew it. I knew it. I had a feeling. I knew it. So yeah, I was a bit correct. I'm gonna go with maybe 30-50. I was mostly correct with most of these films, but there were some films I was definitely wrong about. But now we're gonna get into the tier list part. Alright, so we're about to get started with the tier list, but before we do, I just want to say something real quick. I've actually been stressed out this entire week once the Oscars got announced. Because obviously there's a lot of films in here that I was excited to check out, but the big problem here is there were some of them that weren't free, and so I kind of felt bad that I wasn't able to watch some of these. And it's like some of the, and like I actually had to bootleg some of them. I had to use this movie app, which I'm not gonna, well, not movie app, but a movie website, which I'm not gonna say what it is because I'm not letting you steal my plugs. But I was really stressed out that I had to watch all these films, and especially since I had other movies to watch this weekend for Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday. So it was kind of stressful a little bit, but I still got all of them done. I watched my movie last night. But to talk about next year's Oscars, we're coming prepared. Where once the day of the nominations get announced, as soon as that first weekend, I'm gonna start watching all the nominations, all of them. But the thing is, and here's something else I'm gonna do. Whether it comes to a TV show, because it's like when you're watching a new, it's like when the new MCU shows come out, like Daredevil Born Again and X-Men 97, I'm gonna watch the shows that they're sequels to. And then, when it comes to the Oscars, because you have to watch it, I'm actually gonna cheat and watch these movies during the week, so that way I can stay up to date and basically catch up on everything that I missed. So that way I can at least have some competition and participate in this big event. So yeah, that's my plan for next year, which I'll talk about my New Year's resolutions for 2024. But hey, that's a year from now. We don't really know when the next Oscars is going to be. We know it's going to be next year, but when? In March. All right, so let's just go ahead and get started. And actually, one more thing. This is kind of a tricky list because you're kind of talking about great movies, like all around. And so it's like not really any movies are going to be in the bottom half of this list. It's either going to be in the top, the B tier, or the middle. So yeah. Alright, so let's get started. So we're going to talk about Pinocchio first, which won Best Animated Feature Film. Personally, my personal pick was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. And honestly, after watching this film for the first time, I started to realize why everybody loved this film. And that, to me, this is what the remake of Pinocchio for Disney on Disney Plus should have been. Where they explore this story with Geppetto. I think that's what his name is, right? Pinocchio's dad in the movie. Because there's a lot of characters that have name switch-ups, with Jiminy Cricket not being Jiminy Cricket, but it's being Sebastian. Obviously Pinocchio's Pinocchio. Stromboli's not Stromboli, it's this other guy that's like this leader, this like soldier, this captain of this army. But I thought the way they retold this story with where you have this story of Geppetto, and we get to see that he had a son before Pinocchio. And we heard about that in the first Pinocchio, in the remake of Pinocchio, but we barely got to see that. And to me, that was like such a weird thing, because how are you gonna say that he has a son, but you don't explore any of that? And I thought that was interesting. And then he dies tragically, and so that starts the creation of Pinocchio. And so I thought that was very creative. And even because and then I like the way that they actually perceive of him as this child as he goes into war. They kind of take the elements that we know from the iconic Pinocchio story and kind of make reasons as to why he's doing that. So like when he gets his legs caught on fire, like Pinocchio, like Geppetto puts his legs in water, except his feet burn off because it's wood. Or there's reasons why he has to go to school. It's like, why don't you send a puppet kid as soon as a day after he was made? Why would you send him to school? That makes no sense. But it takes a couple days after that for him to go to school. And I thought that was like a very unique thing. And then of course, they do the thing where they make him a child actor, but then they also have to make this thing where it's like, make him as a child soldier because he can't die, and there are still some child soldiers out there. And I mean, I guess that was an idea that was kind of cool. And I guess we could say that's a bit more realistic, because it's like when you watch the Pinocchio animated film from 1940 today, and you see Pinocchio smoking a cigar and drinking beer, it's like doesn't look too right to me. The only thing they don't do in this movie is they don't turn the kids into donkeys. I don't even think they have that sort of thing in the film. No, they don't. And then also, like, even then, I also love the way that the villains, the people that bring him into the acting part, they don't, like, they actually feel that the villain feels like an actual threat. Well, they're not goofy, and the sidekick of the villain actually feels bad for Pinocchio. He actually is a good character, and he changes throughout the film, and I really appreciated that. And then, of course, the whale stuff, I kind of thought was forgettable. But then the way that the story kind of plays in as he can't die, but at the same time, he has all these other people that they're not like him. They're actual humans. They can die. And so it creates this story at the end when all of his friends are gone. Sebastian is gone. Geppetto is gone. The monkey is gone. And he's just continuing life and living on his story. And the fact that they didn't just cheat and just do the Pinocchio story again and just make him a real boy at the end, I thought that was actually pretty clever. And then I also forgot to mention, as it's an animated film, the animation is absolutely fantastic with the stop motion. All of that was great. And so for me, this is a top tier animated film that I absolutely loved. So it's a great film. And I will say this, I would rather rewatch Puss in Boots, but this is the better well-made film. Then we have Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Man, oh man, I can't wait to talk about this movie. This was such a unique experience. I personally have never seen a movie like this before, that told a story, that had... The thing about this movie is that it won 7 awards. It won the most awards out of all the movies that were nominated at the Oscars. It won Best Supporting Actress with Ke Huy Quan. It won Best Supporting Actress for Jamie Lee Curtis. It won Best Film Editing, Best Film Directing, Best Best Original Screenplay, and then Best Lead Actress, and then Best Picture. So when you put all that to me is crazy. As for the film itself, I mean, I think the way that the Daniels directed this movie, from the film editing to the performances, and really to the way the story was done, where it really is a story of everything, that includes everything you want in a movie. From generational trauma to a family drama with husband and a bad relationship with a daughter, bad relationship with a father, at the same time being a multiverse film and also being a martial arts film. It works at all of that, but even then, it finds a great way to tell a story with Michelle Yeoh's character, and doing this story of like it uses the multiverse aspect in this great way, where it's like in other universes things are different, like all these, like, she wanted to accomplish all these different things, and in other universes, just imagine how bad and worse it could be, and that everything is okay, everything is shitty. The universe is just like we're all just piles of pieces of shit and all that stuff, and it creates a story that kind of is relatable, and that sometimes you don't really know what's going on. You don't. And I think it kind of created a story that I thought was great, and the fact that you also had her daughter be the villain in one of the universes was great. But even to talk about the usage of the multiverse, I think the usage of the multiverse in this film was well executed. I mean, if you weren't a fan of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I would say that this was the better multiverse film of that year, as you basically had this thing called verse jumping, where you don't have versions of you meeting each other. You get to use this device, and it transports your conscience to that other person's mind. It's kind of like dream walking, but it's the better version and better well executed version of it. And as soon as you and and even then, you also, like, because the movie's also so weird, you also have to do things in order to gain skills from other universes. And so, like, Kiyoe Kwan, when he's about to fight people, he, like, puts the thing on, he transports to it, he gets his mind from a place where he knows martial arts, and then he chews on a bunch of lip balm, and it's just so weird. And that's another thing. The film, the direction of the Daniels in this film is so great. It's so creative, and in the way that they handle the multiverse, and the way they do all that stuff, and even just the editing of all that was great. But even to talk about the performances, easily the best performance of the entire film was Kiyoe Kwan as Waymond, where you have him as this dork who's just scared of, like, what's happened to my hand? And then he can be this very heroic and badass character where he has a fanny pack and starts beating the crap out of people and doing all the martial arts, and then just nailing all these roles, but also nailing the transitions between the roles. And I thought that was fantastic. And then even Michelle Yeoh's performance was great, as they find ways to use the multiverse and going to other universes to get skills and resources and fighting back all these other foes. That was great. And Jamie Lee Curtis was fine. There were some themes that I think that weren't exactly well executed as much, but at the same time, I still thought it was a fantastic film. Granted, it's not my favorite. I'm still going to put it in the top tier because of how unique it was, because of how great it was. While it's not my favorite film, even though it's an A tier, it's not my favorite film, I still thought it was fantastic. I still loved it, and it was just a unique experience. And then also going back on that, I don't think Jamie Lee Curtis should have won Best Supporting Actress. She was good in the movie, but she wasn't Oscar worthy. That's just what I'm going to say. Then we have Navalny that won Best Documentary Feature Film. And it was good. It was a nice little film about, the story of Navalny talking bad about Putin, which is also the truth, I guess. I don't really know too much about it. It was a nice little interesting story. Honestly, I just kept hearing Red Guardian the whole time because he's Russian. I don't know if that's racist to Russians, but yeah. Then we get to All Quiet on the Western Front that won like 4 awards. And once again, like every other war film, it's a good movie. The war scenes were great. I like the way that it actually feels like it's like something real. It's not exciting. It's real in reality. So I'm going to put it in the B tier as well, above Navalny. Then we get to The Whale. This was a film that I'm not going to say it broke me. When it comes to certain films, like, I don't get, like, anxious to, like, when I eat and I get fat or anything, but it really is an emotional story. Of course, Brendan Fraser. I mean, obviously, I still think Austin Butler should have won for Best Lead Actor, but Brendan Fraser's performance was great. And also, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I actually didn't know Brendan Fraser played George of the Jungle. And I remember seeing a bit of scenes of that movie back then when my sister used to watch George of the Jungle, but I never knew he played that character. And so I was looking back at him playing George of the Jungle and then him playing this obesity English teacher who's heartbroken, who has days to live. I just think that his performance was great, but at first it was kind of confusing me as to what made this movie so great. As at first I was just thinking it was going to be a story about him and his daughter. And when you introduce this Tyler Simpkins character, he starts talking about, like, God, and that one day I think it's better for the world to be destroyed so something fresh can start new. And at first I was like, why is he talking about God in a film about an obesity teacher that has minimal days to live? What are you talking about? And so when you think about the theme of this movie, like how he became fat, and that he became fat because he lost a loved one because he lost a loved one, and it took someone close to him passed away, and that took a toll on him, and he had to, and so, but they don't explore too much into how his loved one passed away, but when you start to put the pieces together as to how he passed away, and you start to realize why he ended his life, you start to realize, so maybe God didn't want them to be together, and he starts saying, I don't think the hospital is the cure to be better. I think God should be guiding you. That if Alan chose to kill himself because you weren't meant to be together, then maybe, and if he let God guide him to a better life, maybe dying is the best option. And it's like, at the same time, it was a little bit weirdly established because he didn't want to go to the hospital. He just still wanted to keep going. He still wanted the great essays. He still wanted to connect with his daughter. But at the same time, he still had minimal days to live. And I thought that was like a unique, well-told story. Beyond that, and even with Sadie Sink's character, I'm like, why is she being so cruel? Like, sure, I like her performance of being so cruel but she's being so cruel and so, like, oh my god. But then you start to realize, like, wait, she's sending him home. She's sending him home to his parents that he's not from New Life, and I just thought that was great. And when you get to the final scene in the film where she reads the essay to him, and he finally stands up on his feet for the first time without the cane, without the wheelchair, and then he rises up and goes to heaven. I just thought that was a great scene. And overall, just a great film. I loved it. I will say it's not like an all-time favorite because I have seen most of the scenes in this movie, and most of the scenes were new to me. But overall, I loved the film, and I really appreciated it. Then we got Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. This was one of the nominations and winners that I have seen, and I've pretty much talked about the film before, many times before. Not too much to go into, but the film overall is a great film. It's a great contribution to Chadwick Boseman. Of course, the costumes, as it won for Best Costume Design, were great for the costumes of the Wakandans and the Talokans. The story of, Shuri not believing in Boss and believing in all this stuff, and the fact that she decides to choose her being the new Black Panther, and then even Okoye, going from being the religious person and then going to a tech suit, I thought that was kind of cool. Some of the characters should have been used more. I love the world of Talokan. Tecno Huerta was great as Namor. And then overall, it was just a great film. The action was also badass. And I thought it just gave a great sequel to the first Black Panther that didn't feel like it needed to set up all this other big stuff. Then we have the Elephant Whispers, and this was good. I'm just going to go in the B tier. Not too much to talk about. It was an emotional story of these people adopting elephants. I was about to say aliens. Adopting elephants. And it was a good movie. Nothing too much to say about that, though. Then we have the boy, the mole, the fox, and the horse. And honestly, this was actually a beautiful short. A beautiful short film. A beautiful animated short film that told a story that was so unique that I mean, obviously the animation was so fantastic, but beyond that, I think what also the fact that it almost felt like I was watching a storybook that I would listen to and see pictures in something I would do in elementary school, but it felt like that came to life and put into a short film, and I liked that. I just thought it had a very sentimental feeling to it. Then we have Avatar: The Way of Water. This was another film that I watched without having to see it again. And unfortunately, this is actually my least favorite of the winners, unfortunately. Obviously, it won for Best Visual Effects. Obviously, I loved the visual effects in this film. and of course all the action sequences, but if I'm being honest, that's kind of it. The film was too long, it had too many confusing scenes, it was honestly very, very confusing to me, and overall, it just did not tell a great story. It tried to focus on too many things, and I wasn't really interested in the kids' characters that they introduced in the film. And even the idea of bringing Quaritch back as an Avatar character, I thought was cool, but just did not work. Then we have Woman Talking, another one of my least favorite films that tried to tell a cool story, but didn't really execute it well. It's like, it was good, but it wasn't great. And then we get to the final two on this list with Top Gun Maverick and RRR. I thought Top Gun Maverick was fantastic. Granted, I haven't seen the first film in a year. In 2 months, it's about to be a year since I've seen it. And so I kind of felt bad going into this film without watching the first film. But the movie is pretty great. It's a great sequel to the first film that tells a pretty great story. The score for the movie is fantastic. The fact that it feels like this to me feels like a iconic classic film of that genre, that where you care about the characters, you like the story, but you also like the airplane action sequences. The fact that all that stuff was real, and it wasn't, CGI, blue screen, green screen, all of that. It was great. And even then, you also get all the characters, like Tom Cruise's performance was great. And then even then, I never thought I would feel so suspenseful for planes in a movie. I never thought I would feel that way before for a movie. And then, of course, Miles Teller was also great as the son of Goose from the original film. Overall, it just told a great story. Great, you cared about the characters. You liked the jet action sequences, and overall, it was just a great film. While it is in the top spot, it's not like my top favorite film, but it is a great movie. Then we got RRR, a somewhat pretty good film, but I can't put it too high. What's different about this movie is that it's Indian cinema. It's, something like that. Of course, the film kind of is all about entertaining. The story of, friendship and all that was cool, and, trying to save this little girl. It's like there's scenes in this movie where it could have felt like the final battle, but at the same time, it's like the final battle itself was not that great and especially it kept doing all these weird action scenes where you have someone standing on top of your shoulders and then you're shooting at people, but then you also have arrows and slow-mo shots. It's it was cool, but I don't think that's what I really wanted. And so it kind of created a weird experience. But all the other action sequences that happened earlier in the film I thought were absolutely amazing. They did it in a very unique way. And then, of course, the dance numbers were also great. So, easily, I thought RR was a unique experience, but it wasn't my favorite because, I guess it's because it's my first time watching an Indian film. And so that's kind of, I probably need to watch more Indian cinema to understand. Maybe, I think maybe Life of Pi is one of them, because it stars someone from India. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, that's my ranking. That is my ranking of all of the Oscar winners. Trust me, when we get next year, we're gonna go all out, and that is my ranking, my tier list. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All my social media stuff is in the about section over there, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.